So if relationship is many to one, we put them in two tables and connect them using foreign key. Then if it is many to many, then put them in two different tables and connect them using third table. That's why we end up creating three tables. Okay. So for this purpose, I'm going to use MySQL database. MySQL again is a database. MySQL is a open source database, okay, where you have, of course, code. Okay, so here you have community edition of MySQL, which is totally free to install. The only restriction is that when you use this, uh, community edition, okay, you cannot connect from other system. But anyway, we are here to learn, so it doesn't matter, right? So you cannot connect from another system. You cannot have, yeah, that's the main thing. Okay, you cannot connect from, but it has all the features of your enterprise uh, database. So what happens is it becomes easy to or becomes easy to learn, right? So you have, okay, you see, okay. So where is that? Let me put this. Okay. So you select, don't take innovation one, okay? Take this one, 8035. And you can download it. Okay, so I'm going to take this, copy and put it there. 8035. Okay, select 8035. Okay, now when you download it, you need to select few things. Okay, three things you need to select minimum. Okay, first thing is your server. Server is where database are created. Right? The database is created on the server, right? And when you are working with real or enterprise edition, you'll have one machine where server is hosted, so all the data will be on the server, and people that connect from different machine, that's called client, right? So here server and client both needs to be installed on our own machine, right? That's how then you'll be able to connect to that server. So this is community server. That means from other system, it will not allow access, but from your system, you can connect. So that's why it is used for learning and training purposes. Okay. So you have client. Then you need a UI, okay, through which you can connect bench, through which you can connect, okay, so UI tool through which you can connect to the database and you can work with the database. So Workbench is a tool which connects to the server using client. Okay. So client will know how to connect. And when you want to connect, you need to have three things, or rather than four things, but here we need only three things. Okay. Connection required, you know, the server name or server IP address. Okay. Okay. That is server location, IP address or machine name. Okay. Then you know the username, password to connect to that server and the database name. Okay. Which database you want to connect. Okay. So I'll show you. Uh, Once you install the communication, you download and let me know. Okay. If you have any problem, you let me know tomorrow. Okay. So when you download and install, okay, you will be, you will see this workbench here. Okay. MySQL workbench. And by connect, when you create the database, right, it will ask you to give password for root. Root is the admin password, that has everything. Okay, so generally root password you should not share with anybody. DBAs will have it. And if any developer wants any username, password, somebody else want, they'll create a different user with lesser privileges and they will share with you. They will not share the root password. And then root password has to be saved. So not say you create database and if you forget the root password, then you cannot no recollect you cannot change it. Okay, so you need to have it, and um, if you forget it, you'll have to reinstall. You lose the data, right? Root password is so important. Okay, there's no way like forgot password or you can recover. Okay, it is important. So root password you should not save, and since it has all it has all these power. Okay, you can do anything with root password. So that's why they are not shared with others. Okay, new username is created and that is shared. So of course, that's how every company works. Okay, so that I don't forget root password, so I actually log in with root password here. That's not a good practice. You need to have your own. Yeah. So this is how you'll be able to log into the workman, and you can see here these are my databases: employees, hostel reservation, hotel reservation, live, library. Okay, these are my current databases. So you need to know where the server is, username, password, and which database you want to connect. Those few things, those four things, client needs to connect to the server. Great, and you'll have access to the server. So this is my server. Okay, if you expand this, here you can see table, views, stored procedure, functions. And if you expand tables, you'll be able to see all the tables that user might have created under employees. So you have books, departments, dependents, employees, PYEMP. Okay, these are different tables that is created in the database. Okay. Okay. So what we will do, we will create our own database. So I'm going to say here, you see, create a new view here. This is new schema. Okay. And I'm going to say new schema name. And I'm going to say, we already have employees, right? We also have my employees. Okay, let me delete my employees and drop schema. Drop now. That. green tick here. So here we write the code, and green tick down here indicates that your code has run successfully. Okay. So we will say our employees or something like that. Okay. And then you say apply. Okay. So this is the command, create schema. Okay. So this is create database. Okay. So, okay. So this is like server. This is like database. Inside that you are creating a schema. Okay. And that schema is called create schema. I mean, command is called create schema, and the schema name in single quotation. And when you say apply, okay, now execute SQL statement, I say finish. Okay. Now, if you go here and say refresh, see, our employees has been created. And our employees, if you expand table, there are no tables, isn't it? There are no tables at all because we just created it, right? So there are three ways to create it, of course. One is creating using MySQL. Second, through Python. Okay, and then third, through MySQL Workbench only. But instead of writing command, we can, okay, using UI, we can create a table. Okay, so we spoke about creating 4 tables, correct? Employee, departments, employees, departments, uh, locations, and then one to link location department, right? We call it department location, DOC or DEPT LOC. Okay. Now to do that, okay, we need to open a new query. So right click here, and or you can say here new SQL. Okay. So new SQL window will be open, and here you can write SQL command. So we'll first, okay, now tell me, this is a question, so I'm expecting you to answer. We want to create department and employees, right? Employees table will have employee information, department table will have department information, and then we'll have a key, okay, foreign key in employees, which will connect to the database, right? So which table should be created first, employee or department? That's the question. Did you guys hear me?
Yeah, no,
Employee? No, department should be created. Why? Because in employee table, if you create, you have to link it to department, isn't it? Remember, we're saying that employee has a foreign key which connects us to the department, right? So if you have not created department and you hire a new employee, which department will you put in? Correct? So in this case, if you know in foreign key and primary key relationship, the table which does not have foreign key should be created first, then which has foreign key. Foreign key means you're linking employees to department. How can you link employee to department if department itself doesn't exist? Okay, so you have to you have to create uh, department SKUs. Okay, so let's see this. So we'll say create. SQL commands are case insensitive. Okay, so it doesn't matter whether you give small or you give capital or you give whatever. Generally, tables will be plural form. Employees, departments, because it will have more than one department, of course, right? So create table departments, and you have bracket here. And inside this, okay, now there are 3 things we need to give mandatory, and 4th thing is also there. First thing is the name, of course, right? So I'm going to say DID, department ID. Now, what type of what should be the data type. So data type in database is similar to Python, but not exactly the same. Okay, database in SQL has much or many more uh, column names uh, than let's say Python. But okay, let's see that and then we'll come back here. But they are similar in nature. Okay, so now I go here. Okay, I will say uh, data types in MySQL. Okay, so you can go to this reference manual. Okay, try to get from dev.mysql. That is the official document. I mean, there will be many sites which will give you, but this is the official documentation site. Okay, so here if something new comes, okay, it'll come here. So that's why you need to prepare from this. Okay. So see here you have numeric data, time, strings. Okay, and you have different types of. I can click and go. If you want to create count. Okay. Ah, it's very difficult to continue. So we're talking about DID. DID should be what? Numeric type, right? You go to numeric type, and these are your numeric type. Okay. Integer is again common here. We will use integer. Meanwhile, what I'll do is I will put this in the document so that you can actually see. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to say data types in MySQL. Great. So when you get this document, it will have everything for you. Okay. So coming back here, DID integer. Now, integer. Now, we have constraint. Okay, every table should have one primary key. Primary key is a column that uniquely identifies each row of that table. Okay, and every table should have one because if you want to access a particular value, and if you do not have that unique value, then you will not know how to access. Now, example here, let's say you all have names, so your names are unique. So if I have to talk or call someone, I can use your name, right? That becomes primary key because you have you have all have unique names, so I know exactly whom to call. But if there were 10 people with name like yours, okay, then how do I call, right? So you need to have something unique. Otherwise, you perform everything for the entire table, okay, which is again, in that case, you don't need key. But if you're not doing for entire table and you are selecting 1, 2, or 10, there has to be some basis on which you will say that, okay, I want to change department which has department ID 2, right? So we call them as primary key. Okay, so you have key. Key is something that uniquely identifies the row. Primary key means it will be with only one. Primary key cannot have two. You cannot have two primaries, right? Always primary key is one, and primary key automatically means it is not null, and null has a name. Or okay, or that primary key has a name. So okay, so if I need to change, I need to know the DID number of which value I need to change. Once you give me with the correct DID number, I'll be able to change the values there, right? So in this case, DID is our primary key. So I'm going to say primary key. Then let's say DNAME. DNAME is varchar. There's difference between char and varchar here. Varchar means variable character, okay, and char means fixed number of character. So if I said 8, okay, or 10, it would always fix 10, whether the content is 5-digit or 10-digit, it doesn't matter. It will always have the fixed number of space, values. And if you have given more, it'll have spaces. If you give less, it'll ignore, right? So variable means, okay, it need not be exact 20 in this case. It can be anything from 0 to 20. I'm saying dname. Now you want to, you want the head. Okay, the head will also be varchar.
Sir, worksheet is not visible.
Is it? Sorry. I'm on MySQL, guys. Okay. You saw what I've done, right? Now I've added DID, DNAME, DHOD.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, sir.
So I've said here varchar 20, and let's say we put some uh, code, decode. Decode is also, let's say, varchar 10. Okay. So you have each column, the data type, and if there is any constraint. Okay. And every SQL command should have semicolon. So put this. Now I need to indicate which schema it should be created, right? If I try to run, it will not know which schema. So I will say use our employees, correct? That's the schema that we have created. Now, when you select this and you run it, okay, that means now it says whatever we are going to do here should be done with respect to our employees. Table is not yet created because we have not run the create table. Now, when I select and run it, okay, go and say refresh all, table department is created. Okay. Now, same thing we will do from, let's say, uh, from Python. Okay. So we go to Python here. Okay. So we are connecting to the database, right? Now we'll connect to MySQL database. You need a library which will have functions which will help us to connect to MySQL. So we have a library called PyMySQL. Import PyMySQL. Okay. Now, wow, head is actually okay. So import, I need to connect, right? How do I connect? I need to connect using I need to connect uh, using those 4 parameters, right? So I'm going to give host name, comma, DB name, comma, username, comma, password equal to. Host name is localhost, right? Local machine. DB name, what we just created, our employees. Username is root. And I'm going to tell you the password because you can't connect to my database. If you can connect, then you can have access to all. But since it's a community edition, you can't have access, right? Okay, so these are the 4 variables and their values. Now to connect, I'll say dbcon equal to, okay, and then you say here PyMySQL, right? Dot. Okay, dot what? Connect. Okay, and here we need to pass. So if you see here, you have host equal to host name. Then you have what happened here? Host name and database name. Database equal to, what did we give here? Database equal to DB name. Then you say the username. Okay, username is username. Okay. Username and password. I want to do one and then I will ask you to practice on your own tomorrow. I'll see. Okay. So here password is password. Okay. Now when I run it, okay, it should not throw error. And when you create it, you have to, okay, not required. Okay. So when I run it, if, okay, or, the connection should be closed, right? When you connect, okay, it will close the connection. Okay. Computer will do it, but it's always a good practice. Now, when I run it, if I get error, that means I'm not able to connect to the database. But if I don't get error, that means I'm able to run. So it says username is wrong. So here you say user. User is the variable, not username. Yes, no error. You see, that means uh, okay, that means we have successfully connected to the database. Okay, now here we need a cursor. Cursor object is something that will take us to the database. Okay, you know where to go. See, Python, and this happens with any non-Python stuff. SQL is MySQL is somewhere else, Python is somewhere else. Command we're typing in Python. The command has to go from this location to that location where you want it to go. Right? So I'm going to write first. So that command has to go using cursor. So I'm going to create a cursor. I'm going to say db cursor equal to dbcon dot cursor. Okay, that's it. Now I will pass the values. How do I pass the value? So I'll write first SQL command, which is like text for Python. For Python doesn't matter, right? I'm going to say create table employees. Okay, and we will add some column, right? So we will say EMPID, EMPID, uh, mhm. Employee ID is integer, and we'll say primary key. Then we will say phone, we will say name varchar 2030, let's say. Phone, okay, I'm giving phone also varchar, right? I'm not going to use it to add two numbers, isn't it? So if you're not performing mathematical operation, then there's no point converting into integer, right? So I'm reading as text, I'm storing as text only. Okay, we need to connect it to the we need to connect this table to the other table, right? How do we connect this table to other table? What should we write? We need to write DID name, right? So name, phone number is enough. Let's add DID. Now, name can be anything. Name can be anything, but it should be same type, same data type as your original one. Okay. So original one DID is integer there, right? So I'm going to say integer. Okay. Integer, DID integer, great. Now I have to make this as a foreign key. Okay. So I'm going to say here foreign key Okay, the column that you want to have here. So foreign space key DID. Okay, references. Okay, and I'll say this references which table? Your departments. Did I say department or departments? Let me go back and check quickly. I said departments, right? Department DID. So I'm going back here, say references, departments, in the bracket you say DID. Done. So your command is ready. Now I need to execute this command. How do we execute this command? So you created cursor, right? So you say cursor dot execute. And here you say SQL1. Now you run it. No error. Hopefully now we go back to uh, okay. Now if I go, are you on MySQL? And you go and say refresh. You see, it has created employees table. Employees we created using uh, you created using um, Python, right? Now we need to add some data into this, right? So we'll have insert, update, delete. I think I have older data. Let me copy and paste here. No, I think I don't have insert here. Okay, let's create it here. So we will create data into department, one data in department, and 2, 3 in employees. So insert into departments. Okay, now we'll say values, because columns we will give columns to all the values to all the columns, right? So right, so here DID, I'm going to say DID 101 integer. D name, I'm going to say PD single quote, okay? PD. Then department name PD, DOD, Mr. PD, and decode. Okay. Now when I say run, here it should run. Okay. Now you want to see the value from the database, you say select star from departments, right? Now when I run it, so see, one table we have inserted and it added the values here, right? We'll go and create insert from Python. So same way, I'm going to say SQL1 again, same name. And here DB cursor execute, we will comment it, okay? We will, or, yeah, let it be comment out, and then we will use this. SQL1, okay? So we'll say insert into employees values. Okay, now values here. First is employee ID 101, which is numeric. Then is name varchar. So I'm going to say Sachin T. Then phone. Phone is again DID 101. Okay, that's it. Now, when we run it, it should run. Oh, okay, it will run entire thing. It has run any without any problem. Now, shall we go to MySQL and see? Here I'm going to say select star from employees. Okay, okay, because semicolon is not there, that's why you see error. Okay, so see, no value got added. What happens is DML, data manipulation language, like insert, update, and delete. You have to write commit. Okay. Now you may be trying to see how different values are changes and things like that. So whenever you connect, it creates a separate session for you. And when you log off, it removes that session and the data is not saved. In order to save the data, you need to say commit. You need to call commit. Okay. And how to call commit? Okay. Your connection you have right before close. You say here commit. Now when you run it, and now if we go to here, and now if you run this, so see the name got added here. Okay, so this is how you need to do it. Okay, insert, update, delete, all three needs commit. You have rollback. If you don't want to change it, then you have to use rollback. But here automatic rollback is done. Okay, so you have to mention commit to close it. Okay, yeah, I'll show you. Insert, update, delete is very similar to that. Okay, what I'll show you is how to read the data. Okay, to read the data, you have to again write the query. So SQL 1 equal to select star from, let's say we put employees, right? Now I need to execute it. So you execute it like this. Now it'll execute is running on the database. It will run on the database. But are you, do you want to stop there or do you want to get the value in a program also? And of course, for select, you want to get the values in the program, right? So for that, you will say, okay, for execute, okay, you have db cursor.execute, right? Now you will say here, results or something equal to your db cursor dot fetch all, fetch one, fetch many. Okay, so you can say fetch all. Fetch all means we'll get all the value and put it in results. Now result is like a list. You can get each row. So each row comes as a tuple and it's like a list of tuple basically. So it'll be one list, output will be one list. And if you have 10 rows, you'll have each row as a tuple. So if I say for data in results, print data, and since we have only one row, it will print only one row for us. You see, it has printed this. So this is how you connect to the database, get the data, and you work. So just like you did insert, right? You can do delete and update, right? If you want to update something, if you want to delete a thing, you can do it, right? Will you do delete and update on your own?